One key objection to critical legal theory is that it can lead to massive social conflict, or rather it can increase the level of social conflict. The difficulty here is that critical legal theory seems to take a certain amount of power out of the hands of legislatures and put it in the hands of judges. Why would this be a problem? It's a problem because losing a Supreme Court case is a much bigger blow politically than losing an election, a legislative debate, etc. If you lose a legislative debate, you prepare for the next debate. If your candidate loses an election, you prepare for the next election. If a Supreme Court case goes against you, things are much more serious. So let's say that someone wants certain restrictions on eminent domain, and they can't get Congress to do it. Well, they can keep lobbying Congress and try to get laws changed. Okay. Let's say they've tried to get a candidate in office who would be less favorable to eminent domain. Well, again, if they fail, they can try again at the next election. But if the Supreme Court says that rules against certain restrictions on eminent domain or upholds eminent domains in certain ways that are controversial, the situation is more serious for the opponents. Why? At least two reasons. One, there's something called stare decisis, or let the decision stand. This is an idea that says that when the Supreme Court makes a decision, or to some extent lower courts, the burden falls on the people who want to overturn the precedent. Okay? So for various reasons, people think that once a decision has been made, right, it takes an extra amount of argument to get it overturned. In addition, of course, it takes a long way to work things through the judicial process. Judges serve for life, so there's a little less chance of a change in the composition of the court than in the legislature. And in some ways, the Supreme Court has further reach. The Supreme Court has much more power to simply invalidate a local law everywhere in the country than the president or the Congress. Okay. Now, the president and the Congress can do this in certain respects, but that's subject to review by the Supreme Court. So for all these reasons, the stakes are higher when there's court cases involved, especially things that get up to the Supreme Court. Taking power out of the legislature and putting it in the hands of the judges can make a political law or a legal loss in the courts a more serious matter than a loss in normal electoral politics. And so the sense of desperation on people's parts when the Supreme Court goes against them is greater than the sense of desperation if their side loses in a particular election. In fact, a lot of people have made this kind of argument about the course of law concerning abortion in the United States. So some people who are in favor of a legal right to abortion say that the case Roe v. Wade actually did a lot of damage. Why? Because there seemed to be a gradual movement, a steady but gradual movement, towards less restrictive abortion laws in the United States, and there were parallel things in other countries. But that got interrupted when the Supreme Court stepped in. All of a sudden, this created a lot of alarm on the part of people who were opposed to abortions, particularly opposed to abortion being legal, right? And led to a sudden resurgence or a sudden increase in support for legal restrictions on abortion. Okay. And of course, as you know, that is a very dramatic issue, right, that involves a lot of strong feelings on both sides and has been a source of enormous conflict. Okay. So, making it more general, the idea is that when things are taken out of the hands of the legislature and put in the hands of the courts, it tends to create more social conflict than leaving it with the legislature.